Hi, friends. My name is Shelby, and I wanted to talk today about something that's kind of near and dear to my heart a little bit, um, and it's addiction, basically. Um, Goodness, sorry, I just can't start well. So, technology is a part of everyday life. I mean, I'm talking to you through technology right now, and it children have access to it. It's in learning. In 1752, Ben Franklin had his humble lightning rod, and it was one of the first forms of technology. You can even see paper and pen as technology. But over the last 20 years, technology has grown exponentially. I mean, now we have a supercomputer in our hands every day, and children do too. And personally, for me, I love video games, and a lot of kids love video games as well. And these video games now, especially games like Fortnite or Roblox, they're kind of forum type games. Roblox specifically, there are different servers that kids can join, and they've been infiltrated by adults, and it doesn't seem like a big deal because I'm an adult and I'll play Fortnite, I'll play Roblox, and it's fine. But there is this rule of the internet, basically, and it's, if it exists, there is a tainted version of it, and it's true. I have an 11-year-old little brother. He plays Roblox, and he's shown me poker and blackjack, and you gamble real money. And it hits so close to home for me because I'm an addict, and I recently just hit 2 years clean off of fentanyl. Yay, good for me. And part of my healing journey was learning why my brain did what it did, does what it does. So I'll tell you. So dopamine is the feel-good chemical in your brain, and it's a reward center. It's where you get rewards. You feel happy when you're eating. You feel happy when you fulfill primal needs, things like that. And it can be stimulated by drugs, by sex, by gambling. And there's also a saying, too much of a good thing isn't a good thing, and that's where this comes in. So your brain has a dopamine reward center, and when you do something that fulfills that need in your head, you get dopamine, and it affects your mood, your attention. So basically, if you find something that you like, it gives you a reward in your brain, and it trains you to focus more attention onto that because that will make you happy. And it's the exact same thing with drugs. It's what happened to me with drugs. You try it once, and you always try to get back to that same level of happy in your head. And because you have overworked the reward center in your brain, it's tired. It just can't produce that amount of happy that you're constantly signaling it to make. So the problem with this is gambling is now on Roblox and Fortnite and other stuff like that, and it's in the form of loot boxes or skins or avatars, clothes, things, your appearance. In games like Fortnite, loot boxes or prize boxes include different weapons, different skins for those weapons, and they're a rarity. And I'll even admit, even when I get a legendary item, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it hits that reward center. Children's minds, developing minds, are sponges. It's said that they're sponges. They take in everything. They just soak up everything. And it's also said that your frontal lobe doesn't develop until you're 25. So anything that is before 25, you're training your brain how to work for the rest of your life. What gambling does is it hits that reward center in your brain, just like a drug, just like caffeine or sugar or heroin. it hits that reward center and it creates a constant need for more. If you put that in a child's world, when they're betting on these skins, it's a constant need for more. And eventually they will be an adult and they won't buy, Family Guy skins for a silly game. They'll be spending their real money in casinos, or they'll be doing other risky behaviors to meet that need in their head. When you overstimulate that reward center, your baseline for your happiness, your norm, it goes down and down and down and down and down. So if this is your baseline and you gamble and it's a real big win, you're real spiked, but then you lose and it's a real low. When you go low, it lowers. And then you get a big spike, and then it low and lower and lowers. And then that big spike isn't really a big spike anymore. The bar is here. That big spike is barely baseline. And if that starts as a child, imagine how detrimental it can be as an adult. I mean, just personally, I spent 8 years of my life chasing something that I'd never get. And it worries me with kids today. I don't want to sound like an old head, and I get it. I was born in 97. I don't have a 2000 in front of my birth date. But I'm sitting here telling you I love technology. It's a part of my everyday life, and I couldn't see a life without it. But there's gray area in everything. And there have been enough studies done to know that regulation is key, but also there's not a lot of studies on the effects of it, the effects that it has on children. And specifically, if I can quote someone, let me see. Philion talks about the black box fallacy, and it's basically saying that a black box, like a box that is black, will be the source of our only information for years to come. And there is this need with black boxes coming out that you buy more and more and more, and it's a dependency. I mean, this is an opinion, not fact, but it seems that, like Apple per se, they build products that go obsolete almost immediately, and the next year you have to buy the next product. And it breeds dependency among adults and among kids, because kids, you can chalk it up to wanting to fit in, but society has put this pressure on children to fit in. So it's a double-edged sword. But speaking specifically on gambling, there is also another study, that was done in 2022, by Maria Gonzalez, and it said that betting on skins and other forms of gambling, gamblers who bet on skins as kids had a higher rate of at-risk gambling problems than those who did not. I think studies speak for themselves. And the problem that there is I don't have an answer. I can sit here as an addict and tell you that gambling for kids is bad. And starting addiction early breeds addiction in the future. But I can't tell you the answer because there's not enough information on it. And parents are fighting an uphill battle because there's not enough information. We can blame parents for the extra high rate in gambling or addiction problems in adults, but adults are trying to adapt too. And I think that there needs to be precedent on studies on this, because the little studies that there are prove my point that this matters. There's a saying that children, like, what is it? Kids are the future of America, or children of the future, or whatever. And it's true. It's just fact. And if we don't start studying our kids, nothing changes if nothing changes. I hate to spit some Narcotics Anonymous stuff at you, but nothing changes if nothing changes. And we obviously see that technology is changing, and it's never gonna stop changing. So we need to put precedent on learning it and understanding the boundaries that need to be set in place. Because the 11-year-old little brother that I interviewed didn't think of it as a big deal. And I can see me as an 11-year-old, I might not think of it as a big deal, but me as a recovering addict, I see anger issues in him, and short attention span, and short patience, and things that are just all indicative of other mental health issues that can be, in the studies that have been done, can be directly related to that overstimulated dopamine reward center. And that's how I feel. And I don't think most of what I said is an opinion, because it's not. I say a lot because I think it speaks for itself. And I think I don't blame ignorance. I think that a lot of ignorance is out there because it's not, nobody knows. I can include myself in this. We're betting on skins, and we're getting cool little things for our game, and it doesn't matter until it does. And then, for me personally, you go to therapy or rehab or whatever, and you look back and you're like, oh, wait a minute. I've always been, I've always been like showing this behavior. And it's because of small little tiny things that could have been fixed. Like my digital literacy. Digital literacy is the idea of being responsible on the internet and knowing what you can post, what you should post, what you shouldn't, things like that. And because I wasn't necessarily digitally literate as a kid, because my mom wasn't either, because we're both learning this big new MySpace and dial-up internet and things like that, it matters. If I can get anyone to take away anything from this, it's that even though life, it's not that deep, because it's not, some of these things, like betting on skins and things that we might not realize affects us, it is that deep. It really is. I remember before phones even had touch screens, I could not get my Rumor 2 out of my hand. And now, there's supercomputers. My little brother's phone never, ever, ever, ever leaves his hand. And when it does, when he's asked to do something, it's almost a rage. It's withdrawal. It's that constant need. And you can see it if I can see it as a problem in my little brother, I'm sure parents who are closer to their children can see it in them. And I wish I had a solution for you, because I don't. We can limit screen time. You can go outside and touch grass, but the world is constantly adapting. And I think that the thing that needs to be most important is educating ourselves on it and being aware of your child's online presence and your own as well. Thanks for listening.